Good morning, everybody. We are Family Recipe Book. I'm Cody. I'm here with Luke, Kevin, and Jared. And I'm going to go over a pretty brief introduction as to what we are and what we do. So what we are is an easy online way for families and friends to share recipes with one another, with an emphasis on being clear, concise, with very little clutter throughout the whole site. Making sure we use larger buttons, iconography, so that you can identify things without necessarily having to read. With no bells and whistles, no ads, or anything between to get in the way of what you actually want to do with it. With the focus being to be simple, scalable, and shareable. This site, despite the name, is not actually just for families. We do it with friends, coworkers, groups of pretty much any variety, anything you want to share recipes with other people. With our mission statement being so easy, your grandmother could use it. So, brief introduction as to what we all did throughout the project. I handled a lot of front-end work using HTML and CSS, so I handled a lot of the visuals, where things are placed on screen, things of that nature. I worked really closely with Kevin throughout the whole thing, who helped me with design purposes, mostly color schemes, kind of how things are supposed to be laid out. He made sketches for each of our pages that we knew exactly what we were going to build, as well as he did a lot of the paperwork behind everything and a lot of miscellaneous tasks that were kind of in between what we were all doing. Luke and Jared worked a lot in the back end, working with PHP, the database, the SQL, and going over some of the tools for actually getting things to work properly, which is pretty important in most cases. And so I'm going to actually pass the mic over to Luke then. He's going to go over one of the tools we use, a little bit of things we did, and then move on from there.
Hello. So some of the tools that we used were, one, DigitalOcean, which is where it's the website that we use to host our server, on which we installed Nginx to host the website, and for the database, we use MySQL for the database cluster. So early thoughts going into this and our prototyping. Our big focus was we didn't want too much on the screen for the user, because it's not very user-friendly to have all these things in your face whenever, say, you're an older, less tech-savvy individual trying to use the site. So we wanted to focus on keeping it simple. So this is what our prototype looked like. It's very easy, everything, very few things on the site. And although during the prototype it was all hard-coded, so it wasn't very manipulatable. But what we learned was what our project visuals, what we really wanted to hammer down, not to have too much clutter. We wanted a logical through line, so what that means for us is we don't want the user to have to open up a drop down or open up some side menu in order to access things that should just be there for them. They shouldn't have to dig for what they're trying to access. And another thing we learned is the necessary features. We did not want to keep adding things that we wanted to add. We needed to just focus on what we needed on the site so it wouldn't be too cluttered. And with that, I will pass it over to Kevin, who will be discussing the diagrams for our project.
Hi everybody. So these are a couple of our diagrams just to get you a little more acquainted with what our site actually does in a much simpler fashion. So on the left here, we have what's called our context diagram. On the left is you, the user, everything that you can do with our website, which is that big rectangle in the middle, that interacts with the database, which is the little guy on the right of that big rectangle. So things you can do are create recipes, create users, create groups. That works with our website to send data to our database. And the database will sometimes fill information to the website. So when you are editing an existing recipe, it takes all of that information and fills out the very same form that you use to create a recipe with the pre-existing data. On the right here, this is a very, very simple idea of what you do and how you interact with our site. So it starts with you. You use your computer to access our website, which interfaces with our database. All of the data that goes to the database comes through our website. This is to maintain data integrity. Oh my goodness. It's for formatting, making sure that everything that the database gets is the way it needs to be. You can't just send us data and hope that we know how to parse it. So speaking of the database, this is generally what it looks like, and everything hinges on that top left square, the user. Nothing exists on our website without a user. A recipe can't exist if somebody didn't make it. A group can't exist if there's nobody in it. A user can belong to multiple groups, but a recipe can only exist under one user. Multiple people can't own the same recipe. Groups can have invite links generated to them, which you can share with anybody that you want, and if your friends, families, neighbors, businesses, and clicking that one simple link will add anybody to that group. And every group can have exactly one invite link, which you can then regenerate if you think it's being misused, and you need to kind of hone in on who exactly has that link, reshare it with people that you want. So at the beginning of last semester, we had to make a plan. This is how long we wanted everything to take. We said that the website and the database were going to take about 4 weeks to make together, connect it in 1 week, and then start working on other things like user accounts, groups, and sending data to the site from the database. So, for example, when you create a recipe, having the website actually show the recipe that you created instead of the hard-coded values that Luke was talking about earlier. That was too optimistic. That was way too optimistic. Luckily, we were able to get the website and the database done very quickly, much faster than we anticipated, and connecting went well. But things like groups took a few weeks longer, sending data to the site took a little longer, and then, once all of that was done, we figured out that we needed to connect everything again because of changes in our methodology and scope, and that took all semester while other things were happening in the background, like making the site look a little nicer, or adding some of those additional features. And then that leads us to our working version. So now that our project is done, I'm gonna have Jared tell you a little bit about what we learned.
So you can't learn anything without some challenges. One of the biggest ones was PHP. Now none of us knew PHP, so we had to learn that. Another problem was the scope. We thought that was going to be much smaller than it actually was, but it constantly increased as we did more and more in the project. Now, along with that was prioritizing our tasks. Some stuff that we should have done before, we pushed off and waited a bit too long. So we were kind of like, oh no, we need this before this. The biggest learning point from all of this was even for something so small as just a website to share recipes with your friends and family is much larger than you would think. Now, the overall lessons, the biggest good lessons that we learned was how to work cohesively as a team, how to code the same file, how to make it work, 4 of us working towards the same goal. Now, again with the scope, how to actually plan, the importance of how to plan within the set scope. We weren't planning before, which is why it kept increasing. And with that scope, you will have to adapt. You will have to make changes, and you have to adapt to that. Taking in outside perspectives, so like when we were testing, testers saw something that we needed that we didn't see at the time, so we had to implement that. And the biggest lesson through all of this that we learned was to communicate. Now time for a live demo.
So we're gonna show off what our website actually looks like. We're gonna go through a little story of a user who's just trying to share a little love. So Luke's gonna sign in as Grandma Sweetie, a beautiful old woman who loves cooking. And she's just discovered a brand new recipe. She made it all by herself, and she's gonna add it to this list of recipes. So she's got chili, spaghetti, she's got salmon on there, but there's a brand new recipe that she wants to share with her family. Grilled cheese. She came up with it all by herself. So this is our recipe form. You're gonna input the name of the recipe and all of the ingredients in this fashion. You're gonna have the name of the ingredient, you're going to have the number of the ingredients, and you're going to have the unit. So 1 slice of cheese, 2 slices of bread, and a little pad of butter is how I like to make it. So down here at the bottom, we're gonna put down some steps in order. So again, the way I like to make it is you just make the sandwich, throw a little butter in that pan, toss it until it gets a nice golden brown on both edges, and then you've got, it's not really a grilled cheese, it's more of a fried cheese, but it's the same thing, right? So, say you made a really good looking grilled cheese and you want everybody to see what they can have it look like. You can upload an image of your grilled cheese. And, where did that recipe come from? Grandma Sweetie came up with it all by herself. So you can add in this optional more tab, which is not put in your face like a lot of recipe sites do it, where it takes up like 3 paragraphs at the beginning and you gotta go past it and then there's the recipe. It is a little tab that you can open if you want to see it. So now we'll scroll down to the bottom of this recipe list, and there's our grilled cheese. There's Grandma Sweetie's grilled cheese, excuse me. So now, Grandma Sweetie wants to share this with her whole family. So she's gonna filter by the groups, and she's part of a group called the Sweetie Family. And she'll scroll to the bottom again, grilled cheese isn't there, because she hasn't added it. So she'll go way up back to the top, she'll remove that filter, and she'll search for grilled cheese, because scrolling all the way down there just takes a long time, right? So we just type in grilled cheese, there it is. We'll go to this drop-down menu, we'll go to the Sweetie Family, and we'll click that big Add button. And then if we filter it again, you will see that the grilled cheese is part of that family now. Everybody who's in that group can now see the grilled cheese recipe. But say Grandma Sweetie wants, she's got a brand new group of cooking friends that she got. She's gonna wanna make a new group for her friends. She'll click that big new group button. Again, another one of our very important design philosophies was everything has to be big and obvious. No rooting through small menus, just find the button you want and click it. So we'll create a group, we'll go back to that group stat, and we'll see that Grandma Sweetie is now part of the My Sweet Friends group. And if we click the members button down there, we will see that currently Grandma Sweetie is the only member. So if she wanted to invite somebody, theoretically, she would click that Generate Invite Link button up at the top, and that creates a multi-use invite link that's good for 24 hours. She can share that with everybody she wants, and if she thinks that one of her dastardly grandkids is spreading this around the internet and people she doesn't know is getting in her group, she can generate that link, get a new one, and kind of tighten up who's actually allowed in that group. So now we're going to go to her profile, because now she's part of a group of people. People are going to want to know who she is, and that does not look like Grandma Sweetie. So we're going to click that Change Image button, and we're going to pull up an image of Grandma Sweetie. Just a sweet little old lady, and we'll confirm that change, and now it's Grandma Sweetie. But again, that's not a bio. Is Grandma Sweetie's bio, your bio goes here, does that tell you about Grandma Sweetie? No. So what you're going to do, or what Grandma Sweetie is going to do, is she's going to type in a little bit about herself. She's a sweet old lady. And we'll confirm that change, and then her bio is updated. So now that Grandma Sweetie is part of a new group, she has a little bit about herself, she's going to go back to that recipes page, and she's going to add a couple of her recipes just to share with her friends. So maybe she wants to share the spicy chili with her friends and with her family. She can do both of these things. But the friends group is only going to see the chili, while the family group is going to see everything else that she lets them see. So if we real quick filter by just My Sweet Friends, we'll only see that chili and not everything else. With that, Grandma Sweetie's job is pretty much done. She's uploaded her grilled cheese, she's shared her chili with her friends, and she's just feeling real good about herself in general. So she's going to go to her profile page, she's going to sign out, she's going to let her husband use the computer for a little while. She doesn't want him touching her recipes, That is our demonstration.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Does anybody have any questions?
So this is more of a question about your design philosophy. Would you consider allowing users to publish recipes publicly to all users on the site total, or is your vision more focused on gatekeeping recipes and just keeping them between users that users choose to allow them to do?
Gatekeeping is a good word there. That was one of our scope issues that we talked about. A lot of people at the last demo day suggested maybe having a public repository or social media elements, and we put our foot down and we said no. That is not what this recipe site is about. This is about, if you want to talk about your recipes, you talk to your family about them. You don't use some convoluted 5-star rating system to tell your grandmother that her recipe is actually more of a 1-star recipe. Everything is through the groups, everything is through your connections in real life.
Thank you.
So with PHP being a big part of working with the database, how were you able to navigate those challenges with not being able to, with just learning it for the first time?
Spending a lot of time on the manual. Yeah, just one problem at a time. Find the solution and eventually get somewhere.
Any other questions?
Good morning. So as you're putting this together, what is one thing that you would do differently in this project?
At least on my end of things, working on the kind of like the visuals and everything, something I would definitely do differently is, I guess, plan a little bit better, because we went through 1 or 2 small iterations during the entire process, and at first our color scheme was like red and tan, and there was another time where everything was just literal rectangles with no styling whatsoever, as we were all trying to nail down what we wanted to look like, this, that, and the other. There were a couple of buttons and a couple of little interactables on the site that we had to maneuver. If I did this again, easily get a much more concrete outline of what exactly we need on the site in terms of buttons, interactables, scrolls, or anything like that. Get that nailed down, and then move on to actually implementing features into those interactable pieces on the site. So you guys have anything else to add to that?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Alrighty. Thank you very much for having your recipe book. Alrighty, so we are going to take a quick 5-minute break. While we do that, I just want to remind everyone that if you didn't grab a poster form at the front table, there are QR codes.